Hello guys and welcome to my budget deck channel. Today it's a bit of a new kind of thing because I have two variants of the Witchcrafter deck profile because I felt like you can make a lot of different things with this deck, even though it doesn't look like it because Witchcrafter spells and the monsters kind of limit you to Witchcrafter only usage of a lot of things. But I felt like there were especially two kind of things you can do with the deck, and I'll talk about both of these deck profiles, why I chose certain cards over other cards, what other cards you could be playing. So if you're interested in that and not just want to maul about why I don't play a certain card, listen to the end of the video. That would be very nice, but I understand if you don't have the time for that either. And I'll link the timestamp for the second variant in the description, so be sure to check that one out if you're interested in it. If not, just scroll through it, I guess. Starting off with like the more pure Witchcrafter variant of the deck, it's more focused on the spells. You see there's like stuff like Spell Chronicle in it, and yeah, let's start right in. I will talk about the ratios. One Witchcrafter Golem Aruru. You could play multiple, but I feel like they break, even though you have Unveiling now, they still seem to break if you can't get like a normal summon out. And I feel like it's more important to have a lot of spells in there because that's what you actually need for your main place, especially in this variant, because if you have a hat with like 3 monsters, the turn could be potentially already over for you. And that even without an opponent's Ash Blossom. So yeah, that is a problem. I only decided to go for one of each, Madame Vere and Hain, because I feel like you can, with Patronus, shuffle them back into the deck. I feel you just want to get them out at the start, and you can recure them with the Holiday spell and so on. Like there's a lot of things you can get them back anyway, so I felt like running any of them at 2 was kind of annoying. But if you're one of these people that doesn't like to run Witchcraft, Edel, whatever, then you can play a second Hain, I would say, over Vare. Vare is a good Duel Links card, but I felt like the pop came in more handy at the targeting protection rather than being able to negate your whole opponent's board, which is quite important in the grind game, so your opponent has to take care of this effect at the start of his next turn, so you don't negate his whole board that's already on board if they have effects that would keep going and so on. Edel can be very crucial to the setup of getting 2 Witchcrafters out, because that's what the deck tries to do in comparison to the other one. That deck tries to get you to the setup of Hain and Madame Vere first turn, or at least Golem Aruru and either one of those 2 on board. That's what this deck kind of tries to achieve. So that card can extend your plays a little bit further if you are stuck with the card in your hand, or you have too many normal summons at the start, then you can special summon another one out and like switch them out. Sadly, the effect of summoning one from your hand is the one that requires the spell. That can be annoying, but yeah. The deck isn't super competitive meta anyway, so I guess you have to deal with the fact that this deck uses up a bit more resources than other decks, which technically it makes up for it in the long run, but against good decks, there will not be a long run. Witchcrafter Schmeta, one of the best cards in the deck, like Foolish Brutal Goods for your Witchcrafter spells. Very nice, especially in combination with Jenny. You can do a lot of crazy things. Level 4 as well, which, yeah, doesn't really matter too much, but helps you go into your rank 4s if you ever need to. So, by the way, you can completely ignore the extra deck anyway, because that but one card barely ever comes up. It's more like, well, you can use it because you're not Monarchs, so why wouldn't you put cards in there? Double Pitor, I feel like you can run it at 1. I do like the effect here of being able to send a Witchcrafter card to your graveyard because you have a lot of spells. And if you have different ones, you can reoccur them in the end phase. So actually being able to draw another card, send one spell that you've not used this turn, get this one back as well, gives you a bit of a hand advantage for the next turn, because even during opponent's turn, you sadly do need spells in your hand. So that card can help with that, but mainly you want to rely on those 2 a little bit more. Pottery is a card I've seen a lot of people don't really play it anymore, play it at 1. I would agree with that, but also I feel like this deck needs a higher percentage of normal summons, because your turn might be completely dead if you don't draw any Witchcrafter monster. I felt like that was the ratio that I was the most happiest with, that produced the least amount of brick hands without filling your deck up with Witchcrafter normal summons. And also the effect, yeah, you dump all your spells to the graveyard, you don't run that many monsters, so you will have potentially an empty hand at one point, and then being able to add 1 spell back that you've already used this turn isn't too bad, actually. Witchcrafter Jenny has well, very, very great addition to the deck. Glad it came out in Netco. And this card can get your place not really started. It more extends your plays to the part where you can actually set those two up. So I feel like this card running at 3 is definitely a thing you want to be doing. You could even play 1-for-1, but I felt like your monster count wasn't high enough, and yeah, if that gets ashed, I mean, this deck dies to Ash Blossom no matter what, which I will talk about in a second as well. But yeah, you could run 1-for-1 and just discard it. I like playing power spells in this deck because technically there's always this thing of like, if you can't use them or don't want to use them, you could still discard them, but you don't get them back. So in this variant, it's not as good because you want to have 2 spells during your opponent's turn in your hand. 1 collaboration because it helps you push for game. Plus the Witchcrafter spell names, so that's in here now. Deal with it. Witchcrafter creation, very nice card. It basically extends your normal summons because you can search any of these. You can search Golem Maruru, which can be quite nice. This will especially come in handy with like a small combo with Jenny. So you can protect yourself a little bit more, like have one more disruption against certain opponents. That is very neat. Reasoning is neat for 2 different reasons. First of all, your monsters are all different levels, so that works perfectly fine. And also you want to mill 1 or 2 Witchcrafter spells, possibly, or even the trap card, because that gives you more advantage. You can add those back to the hand, so I feel like Reasoning is a real power play. Plus an Ash Blossom bait, so, you know, we take those. Metal Force Fusion, could play Upstart Goblin instead. I like being able to get a second draw and could play any other card, not necessary to be playing this card specifically. There's Foolish Burial Goods you could play instead of Metal Force Fusion. You could play it together, but you don't really get anything out of it like Sky Striker by having more spells in your grave if it's not Witchcrafter spells. So I don't know, I guess Foolish Burial Goods can help you with Jenny setups. Metal Force Fusion draws you another card. Doesn't really matter if you draw into another Metal Force Fusion because then you just do the same thing next turn again, plus you can discard it during your opponent's turn, so it's not really that dead like it would be in other decks. So I feel like the card is nice enough. Foolish Burial, mainly sending Jenny or Shmeta, but technically could go for Pottery and Pittori as well. Or even send one of the big guys if you start with Burial Holiday and that's your main starting play then. Would be kind of sad, but sometimes that's what it is. Witchcrafter Holiday, Monster Reborn for the deck in comparison to Monster Reborn, which you also run because if you get ashed, you want to at least get 1 monster back from your graveyard because you have to tribute them, and they're already in the graveyard, so being able to recur them is quite nice. Triple Holiday in this kind of deck because I feel like, yeah, that helps you get into your 2 monster setup basically. If you tribute 1, then summon it back during your opponent's turn, then switch them out. You have to obviously see that you still have enough spell cards in hand. That's going to be your biggest problem, actually. Caught by the Grave, power spell, sadly limited to 1. Nobody really understands that, but let's not get into that. Very helpful with stopping the whole Ash Blossom kind of thing, because Effect Veiler and Impermanence don't really do much to you, actually, because you can just chain the effect of your Witchcrafters to swap them out. 1 Draping, good against back row decks when they set it. If you go first against them, then that can screw them up a little bit, plus it's another name. So yeah, Unveiling summons from hand, but more importantly, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of your spellcaster monster effects, which is very neat. But if they somehow get rid of your Unveiling, however, sadly, if you activate it, like, you will have 1 less spell in your hand that you can't recur in the end phase. So it's always a bit of a gamble. Do you actually want to use this card or do you not? It's very neat if you have Madame Bear or Hane in your hand, but then on the other hand, you don't really need the second effect of the card, and it's a bit tricky, but it helps the deck enough. In this deck, I run 2 Witchcrafter Scroll because it sets itself from the graveyard onto the field, so it's quite nice, and another names, and drawing a card is nice, I guess. Like, it's okay. You don't have to run it at 2. You could run it at 1, run any other kind of stuff. But I liked it. And you see this deck profile has for the pure Witchcrafter Spell Chronicle, because Spell Chronicle is can be potentially a very strong card in this deck. Sadly, there's no way to search this card, but that gives you the Witchcrafter power plays during your opponent's turn. You send Patronus to the graveyard with like Shmeta, or even discard it with Spell Chronicle. Then you're in your opponent's like standby phase or whatever. You activate the effect, get all your spells back, and then you have the ultimate setup. Sadly, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes discarding cards can be quite annoying if you draw like a handful of Witchcrafters and this card. But since it's the spell, you could still discard it. Your turn will just look very, very poor. Witchcrafter Buy Street, very good protection. It's actually more annoying to your opponent than it first seems, because being able to not destroy like one of the big beat sticks of this deck can actually, against decks that are on a comparable level, be very, very frustrating to them. Plus, you can always send this card away if you feel like your opponent has not got any removal or anything like that. So that card is pretty neat. Witchcrafter Patronus, very good to recycle your monsters, very good to add spells to your hand, and the Graveyard effect, especially in combination with Spell Chronicle, or now with Jenny's effect as well, can be very nice. But I feel like if you don't have the Spell Chronicle setup, this card is actually better on field than it is in the graveyard. But yeah, you know, extra deck, I don't even want to talk about it. It's literally just rank 4s and some link shenanigans that are budget that you can't afford. Link Karibo can be nice to get Jenny to the graveyard if you have more setup afterwards and want battle protection for whatever reason. Then Link Karibo can be quite nice. Other than that, mentionable cards is Extravagance if you can afford it. Obviously, why wouldn't you run it in this deck? And Masterpiece, it's not horrible. If you set it and stuff, you can get spells back and summon Jenny on your opponent's turn, possibly banish a spell then for Patronus. It does stuff, but I didn't feel like it did enough. Since it's not, I would have wanted this to be like a quick play spell. That would be been super good, but obviously it is not. And Psyframe Gear Gamma would clog the deck too much up, in my opinion, because you need like 4 cards for it. But that would help you solve the whole Ash Blossom problem a little bit. So could be a card you want to consider. I felt like running it made the deck way too bricky and actually stopped you from being able to do stuff. But yeah, let's jump right into the Witchcrafter control deck profile. It's not that different. You see, there's only like slight changes. Not that much change with the ratios. Like you play 1 less Pottery, which is nice. And you don't play Adele. What this deck achieves is it's not trying to go for this double setup, but it tries to go for 1 safe setup of either the Negate or the Hain, so you don't need that many spells in hand. And then what you want to do more is use other forms of disruption, which can help you actually to not end on 2 but on 3 if you have the right hand for it, because you don't need that many spells. You basically need 1 normal summon, discard 1 Witchcrafter spell, summon one of these, add the spell back, so you already have your setup basically, and the rest of your hand is free for setting it or whatever. I try to go for more power play spells. That's why Triple Book of Moon, meme, whatever kind of thing. It's not in here actually for the meme, it's actually in here for the spell count, same as Forbidden Chalice. It's not as good as stuff like Impermanence, but a budget deck anyway, so what does it matter? Effect Veiler is technically a better card because it activates from hand, but then on the other hand, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Forbidden Chalice isn't too bad since it's a quick play, since it's a spell. You can decide, do I need a discard? Do I want to set this? Still stops your opponent from doing things, so I felt like that was pretty neat as well. You could cut Witchcrafter Holiday in this deck because it's not as important, but helps you like keep your setup up for your opponent's turn and stuff. And it can be nice if they get rid of your monster to like put it back on board and then keep going with certain things. Since you don't run a Patronus that much, it helps you recur your biggies, and that's about it. That's about all that's different. You run stuff like Summon Limit because it doesn't hurt your deck too much, because you don't really want to cycle through all your Witchcrafters anyway. And you don't really go into the extra deck too much, so that hurts your opponent a lot. And this deck is, well, I would say the strength of this deck is competitively, in a sense that side decking with this deck is way easier because you already can see like what cards can I take out. I can swap stuff like Forbidden Chalices, I can swap stuff like Book of Moon, you can swap stuff like Summon Limit, Solemn Judgment, and the deck still works basically the same way. But now you have like a more go second kind of setup if you're playing against the combo deck or whatever, so you can swap these cards in, which the other deck does not. The other deck is more fun in a sense and has this massive power play of Spell Chronicle, so I really like this. But if you'd ask me what's the more competitive version of the deck, I would definitely say it's the Control Witchcrafter, because like Floodgates do hurt more. It's kind of sad that general Floodgates hurt more than like archetype specific disruption, but guess that's how the game is designed. Talking about general Floodgates that hurt more, I've seen a lot of people play Secret Village, which is nice, but if you don't get your setup at the start or gets Ash or whatever, then this card is basically dead because you don't have a spellcaster, and then you can't even use your other spells like Book of Moon or whatever. So I felt like in this deck, side deck card maybe if your opponent really plays a spell heavy deck, or Pendulums. Well, that's not Pendulum Magicians, so yeah, there's that. Can be nice, but I felt like not necessary in this deck. Mystic Mine, if you want to, like, I mean, it works okay. You have 1 monster on board, your opponent like summons a monster, wants to use its effect, you negate it, you can't really do much more because then you have to have 2 monsters on the board. Yeah, it's neat. It's not totally terrible to stall your opponent for one turn and then maybe collaboration push for game, I guess. Possibly, yeah. It's a thing you can do. Stuff like Silent Graveyard. That's a thing that you could play against certain decks in the side deck. Super Poly, since your extra deck doesn't matter, but the discard would kind of hurt you. Stuff like Cosmic Cyclone, Twin Twister. We're playing budget here, so that's a thing. Obviously, there's better go second spells, however, you could put in that are droplets or triple talent tactics. Super good card, but can't afford that one right now. Mistaken Arrest is a thing. Shared Ride is a thing against certain decks that you could do. Plus, what you could do is the Wind Witch combo, basically, because you only will normal summon, then swap out your opponent's turn, which then you need 2 spell cards in hand because you can't add the one back. So that's a bit annoying. So I felt like this is why I didn't want to use the engine, but if you want to, you can put some synchro cards into your extra deck and play the Wind Witches instead of stuff like Solemn Judgment if you're not that kind of person, but you rather want to have a Crystal Wing or something on board that is unaffected by stuff. That works out as well, but then you need more spells in hand because like one spell won't get you anywhere, one Witchcrafter spell, but you actually need 2 to get anywhere because you need to discard 2 during your opponent's turn, which you will not get back on his end phase. So resource management wise, I felt like that engine doesn't work as good as simple good trap cards, but I guess going second, maybe this would be a little bit better, for example. So it's all got its ups and downs. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope I didn't talk too long. I feel like there's a lot of explain. I could literally talk about this deck for like so long because I really love it. Hope you enjoy the video too. Leave a like, subscribe, do all those things other YouTubers tell you to, and hope you're having a good day.